What is up, my ninjas? Shinobi here with another Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls video for you. Today we're going to be talking about the Fire Barbarian. Now, I did show you a little preview into the Fire Barbarian, and I have found quite a few upgrades since I first showed you kind of some of like the ideas that I had behind how I wanted to build my character, and I have found quite a few items over time. And as of right now, I'm actually able to do Torment 6 with this Barbarian at a pretty decent rate. There are some items that I would like to get that would make this even stronger, but I've pretty much noticed that with this character right now, it's going to take me so long to find these items because it's so specific which items that I need, and finding the right items in Diablo 3 has never really been an easy thing, let's face it. So I am going to be venturing on to some new things, which I'm going to be talking about in the next video, which there should be a link to it if that video is up right now, but I will be posting that video tomorrow, talking about the 2-week gearing challenge that I'm going to be doing with the monk. So far I've covered the Demon Hunter, I've covered the Crusader a bit, I've covered the Barbarian in this video and the last one, and I'm also going to be showing you some monk action and some more classes in the future. And also people have been asking me, we want to see some gear builds for certain things, and the reason why it took so long to put this video out is because we don't have the auction house anymore. I can't simply just go buy the items that I need and then show you something. And the way that Diablo works nowadays, even more than it did before, is that certain specs are very gear intensive, and this one is definitely one of those specs. So let's go ahead and get into it, and I'll show you what it is, exactly how I geared out the character, everything like that, and then I'll show you, tell you what other items I'm going to need as well, and give you some tips on how to do everything. So here we are in town. This is the Barbarian right here. You can look at the, regular stats. You can see that I have 999,000 damage, and you're like, Shinobi, 900, that's like 1,000,000 damage? How in the hell are you doing Torment 6, like I just saw in those clips a second ago, with that kind of damage? Well, it's all about effective DPS. It's something that I talked about 2 months ago when I made a monk video, that lightning monk video, and I told you just how important effective DPS is going to be in Reaper of Souls, and boy was I right. So let's get into the gear, which is the most important part about the build. The spec can be tweaked here and there. You don't have to follow exactly what I did, but the gear is the most important thing. So let's go ahead and get into that. So you see I do have about 1,000,000 damage right now, 7,000,000 toughness, which is decent, and then I have 15,000 armor. You get a lot of armor as a Barbarian, just because of strength and everything. Crit chance is decent, crit damage is pretty good, attack speed is pretty good as well too. It's right around where I'd like to be. I would like the resist to be higher. You can see that my physical and cold are pretty lacking, but you do have the armor as a Barbarian, so that does help out with the lacking of resist. Even back in Whirlwind Barb days and Diablo 3, you could get away with having less resist, well, mainly because of lifesteal, but also because you had armor, and plus barbs, they take 30% less damage as it is to begin with, so you don't need quite as much defenses, and you can stack more damage. This is why I like playing the Barbarian. So let's get into, I'll look at the Paragons in a little bit, let's get into the gear. So we're using the 5-piece Raycord set. Now this set is a Barbarian class-specific set. So the shoulders, they're okay. Strength, vitality, resist, and reduce cooldown. You want to try and get resist on every piece of gear that you can, because getting armor on a piece of gear is not going to do much for you. You already have a lot of armor. It's barely going to move the mitigation. So this one right here, I had the reduce cooldown on there. I had to get vitality. Obviously, when you get set pieces, one problem in the game is that, to complete those sets, sometimes you're going to get items that are not ideal, but that's a topic for another video. So, those are the shoulders right there. We have the gloves. Unfortunately, I couldn't get trifecta. The vitality is nice, though. I do need help with the toughness. It has some poison resist on there, which is great. If you can't get all resist, getting that secondary resist is very important as well, so I did like to get that. I do have much better gloves though as far as DPS goes. I have like these ones right here, which we're going to talk more about these in a little bit. I have these ones right here, which will bring my damage up by like 6%. My damage could definitely be much higher than it currently is right now. If I wasn't using this item here, my paper damage would be 13, 14% higher, but that's paper damage. We're talking about effective DPS. So there's that one. Then we have the pants. I talked about these in a previous video. I had to roll again to get 2 sockets. It came with only 1 socket and the Frenzy. Ideally, I wouldn't want to have the Frenzy on there. I'd want to have all resist, but it did have lightning resist on it and life after kill, but I had to roll for the 2 sockets. Then we have the Raycore boots. Now, these boots themselves, I got the Hammer of Ancients damage on, which is great, and it has resistance in the secondary, which helps out, you know, as much as you can. So that way, you don't have to, you know, focus too much on getting all resist on every piece of item, especially one like this where you want to have all these stats, and we do. And how are we able to pull this off with only 4 pieces? We have the Reign of Royal Grandeur. Now this is the 3rd one that I found, and unfortunately this is the best one that I've gotten so far, but it's not that bad. I mean, sure, I would love to have crit damage instead of that vitality, but it doesn't work like that. So, you know, you just gotta get what you get. And so I have this for now, but you know, that's what I'm using. Then I have this amulet right here. This is a lightning amulet. It came without the crit damage, so I had to get, this was back when I was doing the Whirlwind build, the lightning build, and I had to get the, you know, the lightning was great, but I had to get crit damage on it. You know, I'm not going to have just crit chance, strength, and, you know, re-roll the lightning to fire. That'd be kind of crappy. 100% crit damage is a huge deal. And I got lucky and got 100% crit damage, as you guys saw in a previous video, which was pretty funny. I am looking for a replacement for this, preferably same stats, but fire damage. So then we have the helmet in Dario's Visage, 20% fire damage. I actually rolled that the first time I tried. That rarely happens, and it came with crit chance, came with attack speed, strength, and the fire damage taken is about halfway, so that's not too bad. And it has poison resist on it, and the proc is actually pretty cool too. Speaking is how I'm using Hoda, where I'm really close to monsters, and you'll see like a green thing go around me, and it's doing some nice additional damage. Then we have the Cinder Coat. Man, I was so happy to get the Cinder Coat. Cinder Coat has been one of those items that people have been wanting so badly. I actually happened to get a pretty decent one. Strength, Vitality, almost max on the fire damage, goes up to 20, and almost max on the reduced cost for fire skills, it goes up to 30, and I got it to 27. So, yeah, pretty awesome. Then we have the Stone of Jordan. I got it the other night. I was so excited. It came with fire damage on it. Unfortunately, it's not 20%, but I'll take it for now. It's very hard to find this item, so I'm glad that I did. The elite damage is a little lacking. It did come with Arcane Resist and Maximum Fury, which is pretty cool. But, yeah, it's, you know, a good item. I would suggest if you found a Stone of Jordan, re-roll to get crit chance. You know, that's a good idea, unless you have to roll the fire damage into fire damage for that. So let's take a look at the weapons now. We have the Devastator. You can craft this item, and it comes with fire damage on it, and this is the first one that I crafted, and it's actually pretty good. I may craft some more to see if I get a better one, but this was actually pretty good. Gets you that fire damage. Then the other weapon is the BK Warrior Blood. Now, I'm using this because items you might think like $21.99, you know, it has some good stats on it, but wouldn't it be better to use like, you know, a different item? I had the Mad Monarch Scepter, which, you know, is more damage, 2256, $21.99. But take a look at this. When I throw this on, take a look at my damage. Boom, lost 40,000 damage. The reason for that is I lose the crit damage, 33%. That's pretty huge, and it's very rare to find weapons that have crit damage on them. So it's a pretty nice little offhand there. However, I would love to get the Sunkeeper. That's what I'm searching for, to get that 30% damage to elites. That effective DPS would be so much better than using this item, and I've been trying so hard to find it. I found 2 so far, and both of them rolled incredibly low. In fact, one of them rolled the lowest it possibly can, which was horrible. So, yeah. And then we have the belt here. I'm only using this for more of a defensive thing. I could use like another belt, you know, like this would give me 9% damage or 7% damage, but I lose a lot of toughness. And not only that, this item has a cool secondary which reduces damage from melee attacks by 28%. And because you're standing beside monsters, you're going to take quite a bit of damage, seeing as that you're playing on Torment 6, so you need any help that you can get. So definitely very important. Also, let's talk about the strong arm bracers. Why is it that I'm using them? I got fire damage on there, which is great. Almost max strength, almost max vitality, almost max crit chance, which is great. Pickup radius, which is cool too. But the main reason why I'm using them, because you can get fire damage on like any bracers, but enemies hit by knockback suffer 27% more damage for 5 seconds when they land. That is crazy. That is a lot of bursts. And as you saw when I was fighting the skeleton champ pack, I pulled them, and that pullback is a knockback. So they take 27% more damage, which just gets mowed down with that effective DPS. This ability right here is the ability in question that you'd want to be using. So you just really go like that, pull them. I would suggest if you're going to do it the way that you want to do it, you don't want to like sit here and click on him and charge into him. What you want to do is you want to stand close to him and then pull him in the direction that you want him to go. And you can do it many, 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 many times. Let's go ahead and take a look at the spec that I'm running here. You've seen everything else. Let's get into why I'm running it. Using Furious Charge with Battering Ram, I'm able to get all the runes from this. So I just select this one. Doesn't matter which one you select. You get all the runes because of the Ray Core set, which is really great. So you get the damage is fire damage all the time. So it's 760% weapon damage is fire. Merciless Assault gives cooldown reduced by 2 seconds for every enemy hit, which is great. So you can literally just keep doing it as long as there's big packs of mobs. And then generate 10 additional fury for each enemy hit. So you just go from 0 fury to full in literally like a good pack of mobs. Bull Rush, which stuns the mobs, which is great, and then Dreadnought, which pulls the mobs. So you get all that stuff together, which makes it really good. Then we have Hammer of the Ancients with Smash, which we've seen before. Pretty self-explanatory, don't need to go into that. Battle Rage with Bloodshed. Critical hits cause an explosion of blood, dealing 20% of damage done to all other nearby enemies. So when you crit with that Hammer of the Ancients, you're going to do 20% more damage to monsters around them, which is great. On single target, it doesn't work so much, so if you have a single target thing, go with Marauder's Rage instead. Avalanche with Volcano. This is fire, so pretty good. And, you know, increasing the fire damage by what I have there, 4,400% weapon damage over 5 seconds, which is increased by like 93% because of my increased fire damage, makes you do a lot more damage. You know, and takes them out pretty quickly. And this cooldown comes back pretty decent, pretty quickly. And I use the Earthen Might with that, which I gain Fury when I activate this. If I had the Earthquake set, then I would still use Earthen Might, but I wouldn't have to use this. I would use Leap instead and do all those Earthquakes over and over again and still have the same result, but it'd be more damage. Then you have Warcry with Impunity, just using this because I need the extra fury out of it, and also you get the resistance to all elements and everything like that. Wrath of Berserker with Insanity for 50% damage increase, using Unforgiving so you don't degenerate Fury, but you generate Fury, 2 Fury every second, which is very important. Definitely very good for helping with your Fury there. Rampage, because you're killing monsters like crazy, especially when I have 9,600 strength. Adding 25% of that is insane. You just increase your effective DPS by so much. And Weapon Master, because I'm using a mace in my main hand right here. You can see if I switch this out, now I go down to 923. But because I'm using the mace, that means that I get the 5% critical chance, which is also good. Some other viable things that you can do, you can go with Ruthless, especially on Torment 6, which is nice. You can go with Brawler. Brawler is good for some extra damage. So those are a couple options there for that. Then we also have the Templar, which his gear is not that fantastic. I do have the Enchanting Favor, gives you gives you, your follower cannot die, which is great, keeps them alive, he can run around and help you out for longer. And then I also have heals you, regen life, the chance to, you know, charge in and stun, and then another one of the heals, because you need all the heals that you can get. And then I also have these items over here, so let's talk about them a little bit. I have the Nemesis Bracers for when I find a shrine, pop those on, get a champ pack. Nemesis, Reaper's Wrap, sorry. Whenever I'm low on Fury and stuff is on cooldown and stuff, which very rarely happens, I can throw these on and pick up some health globes and get my Fury back to full. I also have this right here, which healing wells replenish all your resources and reduce your cooldowns by 58 seconds. So you can literally pop Wrath of Berserker, run over, grab a healing well, have the Wrath of Berserker up a lot faster. And even in the Butcher fight on Torment 6, which I've done, you can actually just run around to those little healing wells that respawn, and you can keep using Wrath of Berserker the entire fight versus him, even if it takes like a minute for you to kill him. And then we have the Unity, which it would give me an 8.7% increased damage with instead of using the Stone of Jordan, but I get the 15% fire damage from that, and I get more damage to elites. But the special property on here is awesome, and I want to use this instead of the Reign of Royal Grandeur eventually when I get the other pieces that I need for the sets and I don't have to use this. I will use this here, which will give me more effective DPS, but also all damage taken is split between the wearers of this item. So if I got one for my Templar as well, and I have the thing where he can't die, it pretty much means that I take twice as long to kill. It doesn't mean you don't die ever, it just means you pretty much take twice as long, especially if you put his mitigation really good with some gear. So those are those items there, and I also have the Bottomless Potion of Tower, the only Bottomless Potion that I've found so far in 5 months of playing the beta and also Reaper of Souls. But the armor one, it's okay, it's better than some of them, so yeah. Now, what would I like to do for this build, and how would I make this build better? Well, I actually have mapped out my character, and I suggest you do this as well too. When you're thinking about how you're going to map out a character and see, you know, what you'd like to get out of the character, this is what I did before I started doing this. So you can look right here. I made my own little chart and said, okay, this is what I would like to get. Immortal King's Hell, Mortal Kings, and I'd like to get Earthquake, or these are things that I had ideas for. Fire, Stone of Jordan. This is an idea that I have where I want to put the 4-piece Immortal Kings and the 4-piece Earthquake with the Lutzocks, so you can just do the Earthquake like crazy, do tons of fire damage, and you have the Call of the Ancients guys following you around, giving you tons of fury, so you can literally spam Hoda as much as you want, or any other ability as much as you want. Now, this is one idea that I have that I may put together with this spec, but also another way you can go is by doing exactly what I have here, but instead of the Raycor set, just get the Earthquake set, this one right here, which I have the gloves for already. I want to get the rest of them so I can get Cause an Earthquake when you land after using Leap, which is great. You can get a lot of burst damage, especially because it's fire, and you have the fire build. You can keep majority of the items that I have right now. You just want to switch out the Raycor set for that, and you're going to get lots of damage, especially if you get a Sunkeeper. So those are some things to think about. Map out your characters, think about how you want to do them, and I hope this video was entertaining for you, helped you out. If it did in any way at all, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and everything like that. And like I said, I got a new video coming out tomorrow. I got a challenge going on, a 2-week challenge to try and gear up a monk as much as possible in 2 weeks to see how much effort you really have to put into a character to get them geared in 2 weeks. Obviously, luck's a factor, but we'll see what happens when it starts tomorrow on the live stream, and I'll also put a video up telling you exactly how it's going to go. And I got a lot more videos coming out for you guys too. I got, another Let's Talk Diablo video coming out. I got some tips for doing rifts, some tips for doing bounties, tips for making gold, tips for XP. I got it all, guys. Hit the sub button, and you'll see a lot more. Until next time, my name is Shinobi, and thanks for watching.